Hello everyone, I'm Naruki, and today I want to sit down with you and talk about something. Now, I've played well over 50 Star Wars video games on my Twitch channel by now, as part of my Ultimate Star Wars Video Game Marathon, and that is my quest to complete each and every single Star Wars game front to back. And now I've reached this little golden age, as I like to call it, where Star Wars games release consistently good. Games like Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2, Jedi Knight, Jedi Academy, Republic Commando. I mean, the list just goes on and on. And as happy as I am to be playing these legendary games, and while I know I'm going to love playing these games that I played as a kid, there's definitely something that I learned while doing this marathon, and that is that there is a definite sort of list of games. There's the good list, like Republic Commando, Knights of the Old Republic again, so on. And there's also a list of bad games, like Yoda Stories, Obi-Wan, and any game unfortunate enough to have Episode 1 in front of it. And there's also one game that I find people are way too willing to put on that list, and something that I frankly don't agree with anymore. And that game is, of course, EA's Star Wars Battlefront. Now, before we move on, I'd like to preface this and say that I'm going to compare Battlefront exclusively to other Star Wars titles, because there's at least some sort of standard, you know. Just so that it's not like I start comparing Mass Effect to Bad Rats as to why one game delivers a better story narrative, you know. These are all Star Wars games, and even though they're made by different studios, and even in different time periods, but we'll talk about that later. I'm also going to say some things that some of you may agree with, and some of you may disagree with. That's fine. This isn't a video about how I think people that enjoy a certain game are wrong in their opinion. After all, no game is meant to appeal to everyone. If you enjoy a certain game that not too many other people enjoy, that's fine. Go ahead and enjoy that game. This video is intended to basically say, here's what happened, and here's how we reacted. I hope this will spark some sort of civilized discussion in the comments, even though this is the infamous YouTube comments section we're talking about. Oh, anyways, let's get started. Don't get me wrong, I've had a huge problem with Battlefront since I played it on launch, as did many people. The gameplay felt arcadey, and it felt like it was geared more towards the casual player, but more importantly, however, people compared a 2015 game to a game of the same title that released over 10 years ago. That, in and of itself, carries its own problems, but it's not something I'm going to talk about right now. Rather, I'm going to talk about the basic things, like what makes these bad games I've mentioned earlier bad in the first place. Gameplay is, of course, an integral part of any good video game. You've never played a good game that played horribly, I guarantee it. The controls in Battlefront are responsive, and more often than not, things just made sense to me. Fire equals bad, don't stand in front of the grenades, or walkers, so on. Granted, grenades don't kill everyone immediately, which is something I absolutely disagree with, but that is something the player community wanted, and the devs delivered, but I digress. When I died in Battlefront, I could understand why I died. In Star Wars Obi-Wan, however, it was the total opposite. That game wanted to be Jedi Knight really badly. It wanted to have that same sort of movement is your combo kind of thing. You know, you'd use your right stick on the Xbox to attack, and if you move the stick to the right, Obi-Wan would attack to the right. Move the stick to the left, and the character would attack to the left, so on and so forth. However, the lightsaber was really more of a suggestion to its existence more than anything. More often than not, enemies would block attacks coming from the top by defending their side, and I couldn't even count the number of times I just straight up shouted at my screen, telling Obi-Wan to dodge! I swear it was almost an episode of Dragon Ball Z Abridged. The game controls were incredibly mucky, and movement felt delayed if inputs would be even picked up. And quite frankly, that, I think, is a shining in shit example of a game with absolutely horrible gameplay. And that is a kind of standard that I would compare Battlefront to. Battlefront simply does not have that experience, at least to me. I feel that a majority of people that put EA's Battlefront on the awful side of video games is because it doesn't do a lot of things that Battlefront 2 did. It featured huge battles that were both on the ground and in space, and delivered a true hero moment, where you just go to town on the enemy and basically slaughter them like some sort of vengeful god. A lot of people say they didn't get that feeling from the new Battlefront. Thing is, I think both of these issues have been resolved since the game has been released. A proper AI skirmish mode has been added, and space battles returned in the Death Star DLC. Does that save the game from criticism, though? I think it's a really good argument, but that's for another time. While I do think that a lot of the content that's been released in DLC should have been in the vanilla game, I can't help but remember when games had expansions that had as much content as the base game, maybe even twice the amount. Battlefront has a similar thing going on, and it's DLC, sure, but you can buy it all with a season pass. My problem with that, however, is that it's just too damn expensive. I mean, it's $50 right now. If it were even $10 cheaper, that would have been an amazing price point. Hopefully it'll reach that someday. And lastly, multiplayer. Battlefront is a multiplayer-focused game, and, well, when the servers go down, and let's face it, they will go down, you've lost a huge part of the game. Thing is, though, this isn't the first game to do this. X-Wing vs. TIE Fighter did this as far back as 1997. The servers are down now, and if you wanted to play single player, you would have to go out of your way and buy the Balance of Power expansion. And that's what people did. I, regardless, think that's a cardinal sin, though, to bind a game's life to an online server. It's eventually going to go down. Galaxies is as good as dead, even though there are communities trying to bring it back to life. But still, it's a crime against gaming. Regardless, I think with the addition of AI battles, Battlefront may not be hit so hard, and we may still be able to play this 10 or even 20 years down the line. Despite all of this, however, I think one thing about this game is overlooked way too often. This game looks and sounds absolutely amazing. It's purely phenomenal. I've never seen or heard anything like this. People cared while making this game, and it shows. When you're playing a game that's designed to be a cheap cash-in, you know when you are. I didn't get that feeling with Battlefront. Sure, there's a lot of DLC involved, but they also add a lot of stuff for free, and I don't think that's something they would have done if they tried to make as much money as they humanly possibly could. That in mind, I don't think it's wrong to ask for more, but still, I don't think this game should be down in the ranks of The Force Unleashed and, well, Star Wars Obi-Wan and all those terrible games. You know when a developer is making a game only because they're contracted to, and this is not one of those games. I want to know, what is your least favorite Star Wars game that you've ever played was? Let me know in the comments below. And that about does it. Thank you all for watching, and if you still think I'm wrong, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. I've been Naruki. Thank you very much for watching.